that is a lot of the radio stuff that, a lot of like, ag uses a lot of that kind of stuff where it's a different radio signal that they're running to an aggregator, and then that aggregator will use a cellular signal to get out to the internet and send all that information in. So that's what they use for a lot of the,
Backup communications and stuff like that. They use.
precision ag.
Yeah.
Precision ag is using that.
I understood what you said, I didn't understand.
Yeah,
A lot of words I didn't know.
Yeah, I couldn't even think.
well, when she said it, I couldn't think of what it was, and then you're like, oh, that low voltage network, like
Somebody
that's
did.
all
Yeah,
precision.
yeah,
I mean,
that's what
that's what's crazy
My
about it.
Hey,
son-in-law
what if we,
is
what if,
using that in his hog operation. He has all
Yeah.
his data collection points
Right.
and then,
So they're using a radio signal to run it all back to an aggregator, and then that aggregator will send it up to a place where he can get it all on his phone and do all his farming from his phone.
but he has worked with somebody to write
Cool. So
a
he's running the program.
program that's, so you as the consumer can scan a little code on a piece of bacon or a package of bacon and know how the
Track the
animal
bacon.
was treated.
How it was treated.
Wow. Well, it was killed eventually, I hope.
Tell me they don't know what we're doing.
oh, they know,
Right.
that's why you gotta whisper when you're on your phone, while you're, yeah.
I have 7 Echo devices in my house.
Oh,
the
you're in
little
trouble.
Alexa
They know
devices.
everything
Like,
about you.
nothing you don't know.
They know everything about you.
Man.
And
And
you know,
ironically enough, though, my iPhone completely locked down. I have the IP address is proxying through everywhere else, so nobody, you can't even get a fix on where I'm at right now. So I wanted to, it tells you I'm in
everything,
Florida or Detroit or something. Like,
everything that you say around your Alexa has now been resold to other places.
right.
So, yeah.
I just keep my phone that way so I don't see all the ads everybody else sees. You know, when you open an application, you get all these targeted ads. Like, no, mine's locked down. You never know what I was doing, so you can't hit my with all those ads. I don't even.
I attended a session on cybersecurity today,
Mm.
and it occurred to me that we're sort of living in a drafty house, maybe.
Yeah.
It's scary
Most-
stuff.
It's
most
super
companies
scary.
are.
It's super scary. I agree.
You
Insane.
couldn't possibly keep up with it. If you left that industry for 6 months and you come back, it's a whole new world. Like, it
Well,
changes
'cause they
so
keep on
fast.
getting
trying to
one
keep
step
up.
ahead, you
That-
know, once they think.
That is
impossible.
Melissa's industry, and the stories that she tells is, I mean, she used to have a staff of 4, we're trying to keep up against, honestly, nation powers that are out to do no good.
It's insane.
They
If they
said-
want to get
they
in, they
said
will.
that
Yeah.
They will, yeah.
there are companies doing it, and they're issuing quarterly reports and talking about employee benefits that they're giving these people who all they do is
Is
sit
hack?
there- is hack.
Really?
Like,
Giving benefits.
7:00, please rise. Join me in the pledge of allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Meeting of the Wahoo City Council, Tuesday, February 28th, 7:00 PM. Open Meetings Act is posted on the wall. Call meeting to order, roll call.
Stuart Creechy.
Here.
Shane Sweet.
Here.
Carl Warford.
Here.
Ryan Adias.
Here.
Chris Rappel.
Here.
Patrick Nagel.
Okay, no proclamations. Anybody in the audience have something they want to talk about that's not on the agenda? Here comes Joe. He's all right. Department head report.
Good evening. I'll try to keep my comments fairly brief. Just a little update on just our department over the last couple months. Obviously, winter indoor activities full swing, starting to wind down a little bit, but still a lot of activity in our facilities. Civic Center busy, Senior Center busy as well. Just some things to make you aware of. You may have seen in our reports last month, the Senior Center put in all new flooring in the facility. $38,000 project that was paid for by the seniors, and so again, keep in mind that's all excuse me, funded through their thrift store operation. So again, very good relationship, very good model, if you will, of how to support one of those type of services, senior services that is really becoming even more and more necessary. So very vibrant indoor things going on. As part of the city's rebranding, we too are also kind of updating our website, so we're in the process of getting that done and having it kind of rebranded with a new color scheme and logo and freshening that up a little bit, so that's in progress And then really here as we are turning into March, tomorrow already, hard to believe, just really starting to ramp up outdoor activities and getting outdoor facilities, kind of beginning to get those ready, hard to believe. High school spring practices started yesterday, so that means baseball at Crawford. They're gonna wanna jump on there as soon as they can. So guys have been getting busy yesterday, today, taking advantage of some decent weather to start putting up batting cage netting and, doing some cleanup work and so on and so forth. So, we're ramping up to what will be our busiest time of the year, the 2 months of April and May for our park staff, getting all of our outdoor facilities opened up, cleaned up, ready to go. Aquatic Center, of course, getting that ready to go for the Memorial Day weekend opening. So, just kind of transition for us right now. A lot going on. Rec programs, similarly, we got spring activities. Sports going to be starting with soccer outside. We'll be using our new multi-purpose fields at Hackberry exclusively for the first time or most of the time. Fields 5 and 6 are going to be used extensively this summer, starting with high school reserve baseball. We're going to play games on field 5 on the high school level. So we're going to really get into that new area of the complex fully this coming year as the turf has matured and so on and so forth. We kind of touched on it a little bit last year with high school softball, but this year, 23, will really be our what I would consider first full year of having use of that facility, that new addition to Hackberry, okay? So that's a little bit about what's going on with our department. What I want to present to you, what I've given you was not in your packet, just threw it out there before the meeting. Just want to present to you kind of a project that I've been working on over the last several months, over the winter. It's been something I've been wanting to get done for a while, truth be told. And so I just made the effort to knock this out and work with Luke, our park supervisor, to get this done. And what it is just simply, as it says, it's just a maintenance plan for our department. And there's no approval needed for you folks or by you folks. It's not a document that requires that. It's really it's an operational document. It's a guidance document. And it really, I would say, codifies what our staff's expectations are. And I think that's important, right? When you talk about staff and personnel, is what are our expectations and how do we want to manage and maintain our public facilities that we manage. And so this kind of codifies that, puts it in writing. Now that doesn't mean we're just starting to do these things. We've been doing these things for a long time. It's just a matter of putting them in writing, getting them organized. And this gives us really a good blueprint moving forward. It's a living document that will change, that will be adapted, adjusted, modified, added to as we add more facilities, new parks, new rec facilities, more trail development, all those sort of things over the years. But it's a great tool for our staff, and it's really what it's for. It's for our staff so that we, myself, as management, can outline to them, to our staff, what our expectations are and how we're going to achieve our goal of providing, the safest, cleanest facilities we possibly can using the fiscal resources that we're allowed, okay? For you guys, I just wanted you to see it so that, who knows, just so you're aware of the breadth and width of kind of what we do and how we do things. It gets into the weeds a lot with the tables. It gets into the weeds a lot at the very end with some of those attachments. But it also kind of generally speaking lays out what our philosophy is when it comes to our maintenance and our management philosophy as it relates to our facilities. I don't know how many questions you might get from constituents as it relates to, hey, how often does this get done? What are we doing here? If you do, this is a great reference tool for you that you could answer those questions. And of course, always talk to me if you have any of those kind of questions. But that's kind of why I wanted to bring this to you. It's fresh. It's something that Luke and I have just really finalized over the last couple of weeks, been working on it over the last couple of months. And it really lays out, I think, very clearly what we do and then how we do it. And so, there's a lot of general stuff at the beginning, some of the general standards in certain service categories, and then it gets into the tables that lays out specifically for each of our facilities kind of what we do, split between what we would consider to be our active months coming up here, as I mentioned, starting April 1 through roughly September 30th, sometimes even later for some of the facilities. And then in the back is just some attachments, kind of checklist kind of things that are also great tools for our staff so that this time of the year, as an example, if you look at attachment B with Sam Crawford, the spring setup is what we're starting and what's underway right now. They're starting those activities. So it's a great tool for them to be able to use to make sure we're very comprehensive, we're very proactive, and that's kind of the approach. And one of the benefits of this is, you know, we don't want things falling through the cracks, so to speak. We want to be proactive with our maintenance plan. We want to be aggressive with it and make sure that we're trying to, you know, not have anything fall through the cracks. So, anyway, just presenting it to you. If you have questions about it, let me know. But that's all I've got for tonight, unless there's any questions for me. So,
I think the information you have put together here is fantastic, and it really maybe draws an awareness actually what
yeah.
goes into each one of these parks. It's
Yeah.
really amazing. I think it's
Yeah.
terrific.
They just kinda kept turning pages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
Yeah, it's very comprehensive. Again, it gets into the weeds a little bit more with some details, but, and it's intended for our staff, so that here's what we want to do, here's how we want to tackle these things, whether it's buildings, whether it's turf, whether it's trees, whether it's horticulture, trails, you know, any of those things, site amenities. You know, because there's times when, you know, if you don't have something like this in place, you kind of, you know what you probably should be doing, but sometimes the follow-through is another story, right? This allows them to have something in writing that they can refer to and they can follow through with. So,
Nice.
yeah. Jerry, you got a question?
A while back, you commented about our numbers of, or acres or of parks.
Right.
I appreciate this. What is the, maybe you said, what's the recommended, or how far behind are we on?
I think we're in good shape. I think in terms of total acres, we're in good shape for a community our size, per capita. I do have a national standard. Sometimes that can get skewed depending on the survey data. When it's a lot of larger metro areas, that can skew it. And when you look at it, compare it to a community of our size of 5,000. So I think our total park acreage is certainly in line with what we should have. I do think it's distorted when you look at 60 out of 67 acres, 45 of them are in one facility. You know what I mean?
Sure.
It'd be nice to have more parks, and this is probably a goal that we'll be working on, is just, you know, we're talking about, you know, again, future park development. North Highlands, we're doing a schematic master plan of that as we speak. Wilmer Ridge, we have park space carved out there as per our subdivision regs, right? A couple lots that will be developed as mini parks. But we also need to look, in talking with Melissa, you know, the next time around with the comp plan is really, I think, also updating our park and rec comp plan as it relates to future park development. But I think the distribution, the proportion of our parks, you got 45 acres here, and then we got a bunch of small stuff, you know, acres here, an acre here, 2.5 here at Smith. Stan Crawford, the aquatic center is 4.4 or whatever that is. So, you know, I mean, it's not evenly distributed, I don't think, also geographically. I know the south side of town, Heritage Heights, could certainly use some green space.
Yeah.
Not sure what we can do there now that it's full. You know, that's the reality. But we certainly can try to provide some connectivity to the community, and that's what we're going to try to do over the next couple of years, is get a south trail development underway and started, hopefully, and completed. So, yeah, those are certainly some goals we have as a department. I think in terms of getting back to your question, I think we're in good shape with our acreage. It's just probably kind of clustered. A lot of it's at Hackberry, right, with 45 acres there. So it'd be nice to have a little more spread out, but it is what it is. So I'm really pleased, though, with what we have in place. I'm excited for some of these new parks that we have. A lot of good things. So, yeah.
Nice. Is the Wahoo Trail gonna be open, is open?
They're working on it. I
Okay.
know, if you go on the 4-lane, you can see the pile of riprap has slowly started to dwindle to where I don't believe there's much there. There was a large pile there beginning first of the year. So yes, they are, as weather allows, working on it. Our goal has been, the timeline I last saw was, I believe, late April. Melissa, help me out, maybe?
I actually haven't updated.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, it's completely fine.
So, yeah, they're working on it, and our goal is to get that fully up and gone, or up and running for this season, active season, absolutely. 'Cause I know people miss having that,
Yeah,
so,
it's
yeah.
popular.
Yes, it is. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, consent agenda. 4 items there.
I just have a couple of things if you.
Okay,
So on the Lake Wahoo Trail, I did get a construction update from Olson, and to be honest, I was intending to have it included in the packet, but it made it to the printer and not to Christina to get included, but, they have, or close to, there's two sections of the trail that they're working on. The first, which is, trail marker 3.4, is near completion. They haven't started on the trail marker 5 yet, as of the date of this report, which was February 18th, so they may have been working on that here over the last, couple of weeks, so it is in progress. We did have to request an extension, as there are funds from FEMA for some of this work, and we were granted that extension with progress. They want to see progress happening, so that's,
How many funds were from FEMA? I mean, that was significant.
75% of the original amount,
Okay.
and of the, a portion of the additional work that had to be done. But there was some of the work that they said would not be included, so there is a chunk that, I don't know the number off the top of my head, that we will be paying for 100%.
Right.
And then on the consent agenda items, if you have any questions about the comp time, amendment to the comp time policy, I'll be glad to answer them. There also in your packet are some amendments to job descriptions for the city clerk and the city treasurer. Just, you know, if you recall, Lucinda had a lot of responsibilities, and we were sort of trying to figure out where those job tasks belong, and so this is just a little bit of a cleanup.
On the comp plan, or comp, time, was discussed in the department head meeting, so I think all the department heads understand it, support it. It's gonna be a little bit of a sell job probably to some employees, but, in the long run, I think it's probably a win-win both ways. Especially, I would say probably for the city, payout when they leave will be reduced, so it's a good move, I believe.
Well, on the job descriptions, I know you're cleaning it up. It's always nice to see that in one sense, perform related duties as required, your open-ended comments.
Yeah.
Have to have
I think
that.
everybody's job description has that on there. Whatever you say.
Yeah.
Okay, appointment to the planning commission, now we have a full slate, this became vacant in January, and so, Jason agreed to fill that, so it's everybody, that
Nice.
commission is taken care of for now.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Any questions? Roll call.
Creachy,
Yes.
Ideas.
Yep.
Rappel,
Yes.
Warford.
Yes.
Sweet.
Yes.
Okay, public hearing, request, the approval of request for liquor license for J.C. Steakhouse, filed by Jesus Zagago, something like that. Different part of Sweden than I came from. The application is in there.
Usually we ask the chief of police if he's got any concerns about a liquor license, even though there was one there before. Any problems? Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the liquor license.
I'll second that.
We have a public hearing on that?
Yeah.
Oh, we gotta
Yeah.
close the public hearing?
No,
I'll make a
we
motion to
talk
close
about
the public hearing.
Okay, thank you.
I can second that.
Okay, roll call.
Rappel,
Yes.
Creachy.
Yes.
Warford.
Yes.
Ideas.
Yes.
Sweet.
Yes.
Okay, public hearing is open. Anybody in the public want to speak to it?
Probably closed it.
Probably a formality at this point.
That was too close.
Yeah.
That was close, yeah.
Close it, yeah.
Yeah, we closed it already.
That
Okay.
motion was to close, so now we can move on.
So, roll call to close the public hearing.
Can we do that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
We
we
just
had the
did.
public hearing.
Just need the
closed,
motion
we
now
Just need
to
the
approve.
motion to recommend,
Motion to approve.
I will second.
recommend approval.
One second.
Let's do it.
Thank you.
Okay, what's the recommendation of the council? To approve?
Yes.
Yes.
Rappel, Warford?
Got it.
Okay,
Okay.
question, roll call.
Rappel,
Yes.
Creachy.
Yes.
Sweet.
Yes.
Warford.
Yes.
Ideas.
Yes.
Okay. Back page, action items not requiring a public hearing, agreement with JEO Investments to provide for a reimbursement of the cost to complete a traffic impact study for the area located Highway 7792 from 15th Street south on their property.
So on your, at the table this evening, there was a reimbursement agreement that was prepared by Joven, and so just the basics of it is JEO, as the owner of the property that's located essentially south of Casey's and between the Expressway and Dry Run Creek. They have an interest in moving forward with development, but in order to move forward with that development, they need to understand and have the traffic pattern studied, or they have requested that we have that done. We have received a proposal from FHU, the city of Wahoo has. FHU is the same company that did our traffic study, our 23rd and Chestnut. They did all of the traffic studies for us as part of the Chestnut Street project. So they're very familiar with the community and the ways that we are growing. There are 3 intersections that the study will consider: 15th Street and the Expressway, 15th Street and Dry Run Drive, and then a potential new access off the Expressway at 8th Street. And I think you'll notice in the agreement that the city would be contracting for this. JEO would be agreeing to reimburse the city for this. Joven added language that basically this doesn't create any obligation for the city to allow an access point, if that would be your decision or a recommendation from the Planning Commission. It doesn't make any promise, any promise from the city with regard to that. So there would be no expense to the city for this traffic study to be done. There's some things that will definitely assist the city in understanding the traffic patterns at 15th Street and the Expressway, as well as 15th Street and Dry Run Drive. FHU has coordinated with the state of Nebraska so that any of the work that they would do, present in this traffic impact study, would meet Department of Roads standards, or Department of Transportation standards. So I guess questions?
Is there a completion date?
The completion date in the scope of work, I think, was 45 days, I believe.
Next to the last line on the page.
Yeah, it says,
30 days following the presentation of the final report.
well, actually, in the agreement, the draft report will be submitted to the city of Wahoo within 45 days for comment and review. We have assumed a period of 2 weeks for agency review on the draft report, and then our comments will be incorporated in the final memo, and then they'll submit that approximately 2 weeks after the final comments were made. We included in the scope of services for them to make a presentation at the Planning Commission as well as the City Council. So you'll be able to fire your questions at the experts and not at me. So.
Okay, the first part of it, actually two, is the reimbursement agreement, but first of all would be the agreement to provide reimbursement of the cost for the study.
So we're agreeing to which agreement?
The
So the
reimbursement
first would be,
reimbursement.
yeah,
Agreed
the first
in,
would be the
because before you
reimbursement.
approve the contract, you wanna make sure you're gonna get paid, so
Yeah.
getting paid, reimbursed for it first.
And then the second part is the contract.
I'll make a motion on number 1. to
Okay,
approve that.
that's what we're looking for.
Second that.
Okay, any questions? Roll call.
Creachy,
Yes.
Sweet,
Yes.
Warford,
Yes.
Ideas,
Yes.
Rappel.
Yes.
Okay, second, agreement between the city of Wahoo and FHU to complete the traffic impact study for the area located Highway 7792 and south, 15th south, just South Street.
Motion to approve?
I'll second.
Okay, questions? Roll call?
Creachy.
Yes.
Sweet,
Yes.
Rappel,
Yes.
Warford,
Yes.
Ideas.
Yes.
I just have one statement I want to make, just so you fully understand. In the initial conversation that I had with JEO, they have the engineering expertise to conduct this traffic study themselves. They could have done that. Instead, they're working towards trying to be as transparent as they can and as avoiding as much conflict of interest as they possibly can. So I was the one who suggested FHU, as they have done lots of traffic studies for the city, and they were 100% in agreement with that. So I just wanted to
Thank you for
that point.
pointing that out, and I appreciate JEO for taking those steps.
Okay, number 3, motion to authorize city staff to draft an ordinance to allow for UTV, ATV golf carts within city limits. The goal here is for the discussion. There's a document in here that Christina has kind of laid out, and hopefully we can give her some direction. So if we get done discussing it, then we'll put a motion to authorize her to work up an ordinance for next meeting. So, first question that she has, and Christina, if you get what you need or have some questions, well, feel free to hop in. Should all 3 types of vehicles be included in the same time, same document? I think we did discuss before that there's quite a bit of difference between golf carts and the other 2. So if that means we tackle them separately, the 2 may be together, and then whether we try and put in golf carts into the same discussion. Sometimes we get too many things in there and we'll get confused of what we're ending up with. Whatever, how far you wanna discuss it. My thought is, discussing the ATV, UTV,
Well, and that you can do just one if you want.
Yeah.
You don't have to do, just because ATV and UTV regulations are contained within the same statute, doesn't mean you have to allow both of them.
Okay.
You can choose to allow just ATV or just UTV.
good point.
Golf cart statutes are a little in a different location.
So from an ordinance standpoint, as far as I'm concerned, I would like to see all 3 the same for simplicity, so we're not trying to, you say the ATVs and UTVs are here and then golf carts are over here, but when we're trying to explain to the general public, whether their device or they have to explain to us whether that's considered a golf cart or a UTV is a whole different problem I don't want to get into. So if we just have them all the same, I feel like that simplifies things for the public on what they're allowed to do and what they're not allowed to do. And for law
Let's start with
enforcement, who sees one running down the street and doesn't have to try to figure out if that's a UTV, so it can do 25, or it's an ATV or a golf cart and it can only do 20. I just feel like if we keep everything the same, it's a lot simpler for everybody, so in my book, that's where I would go.
It is pretty clear to determine by looking whether it's an ATV or UTV or a golf cart.
I think ATV and UTV are pretty, I mean, an ATV is you sit on it, maybe UTV and golf cart, either one you sit within. But as it's running by, the difference between a golf cart and a UTV, not, I mean, they're 4 wheels caged, they're, you know, what you consider one or the other is a little bit different.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of that is based on, you know, what's the wheelbase and how much power does it have and how fast can it go, so.
Well,
That's
you
not
see
easy
some
to
of the
do
new
as
golf
well.
carts.
Just do golf carts,
Right.
there's some big tires on them, yeah.
I mean, they-
But that's how the state had defined them, I guess is what I was saying, from what we looked at last time, that's how the state had defined them. So to me, I just think that if I recall, and forgive me because I'm off memory, I could probably go back and look at what we have, but, if I remember right, like golf carts had a speed limit that was slightly lower than ATVs and UTVs. Like ATVs and UTVs could run up to 30, and I think golf carts capped out at, or you weren't allowed to have a speed limit over 20. So to me, if we were going to allow that, I would still take the more restrictive of it and keep them all the same at 20. At least that's what my thought would be. So again, just trying to keep them all the same at whatever is that restriction.
The most restrictive.
Right, essentially, yeah. Not that I want to tack anything else on top of that. If they don't, you know, we start to get into these next questions, if they aren't specifically addressing seatbelts, I don't know that that's something. Seatbelts are a scary thing in an ATV and a UTV because, yes, they hold you in, but they also I don't know, if you built it into something that doesn't have much protection, it's also a little scarier thing, so I don't know where that stands, but I don't pretend to be the expert there. That's the reason I was thinking whatever the state says on that. So as I looked through these before coming in here, my thoughts were keep them all the same and whatever the most restrictive, from the state, and go with it that way.
And you start your base and you can deviate from there later on. I
Right,
guess.
if we get down the road and say, well, this isn't working, we have this problem with this particular thing, maybe we can deviate, but for me, it was, from a base, it would be pretty simple, be the most restrictive the state is on any specific item, and go with that.
I guess my thought was, I don't have a problem with them, some of them gonna be in the same, so we don't have to switch from one thought to the other. Get one of them done, and then if we tackle the next one tonight, that's fine, if not, we'll, make sure see it in paper, and we'll get some public comment, and go from there.
Is there gonna be a period for public comment this evening?
No?
It'd probably be as we
Draft an ordinance.
draft
Yeah,
an ordinance,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
I guess I know which one will be right around the corner will be golf carts. And
Yeah.
I'd like to see that move forward because that's been discussed or brought up a lot.
And I agree, I probably see more interest in golf carts than anything else, but I also, it's not that I haven't seen 6 or 7 people in town say it'd be great if I could
Sure.
drive my four-wheeler, yeah, they can plow snow in it, but it'd be nice in the summer if I can run down to the store with it and run it once in a while, because it sits all summer and doesn't run unless I trailer it out of town or whatever, so I know there's interest in all of them.
Right.
There's a lot of work that can be done with
You
UTV,
discuss
so.
golf carts first.
I'd say let's start
If
there.
we're gonna silo one way or another, I'd like to start with golf carts
I
myself.
would agree with that.
Sure.
Okay.
One of the things on here, I think, that we need to be strong considerations, and I've heard this from many of the constituents that are out there, are the age restrictions. In some of the communities and stuff like that, you do see some of the younger kids that are probably riding the golf carts around, that's probably not the wisest thing, and I think if we had an ordinance that, obviously restricted that to a certain age is pretty important in my opinion.
My thoughts on that on public streets is bare minimum would be a licensed driver, not, a lot like they're running around
And the
Woodcliff
law
and they do.
requires that. The law requires you have a class O operation license. There's no exception. So the only question is, do you wanna be more restricted to that? Does a person have to be 18 or,
Oh.
Did one of them,
something like that.
I thought one of them said that it was 18 minimum by
There- I
state
saw-
statute.
I think
No.
Fremont's ordinance was different.
The
from that.
ordinances in other communities that we saw 16, we saw 18, 19,
Mhm.
21.
I don't see the damage a person can do in a golf cart compared to a car against a licensed driver. I don't know. To me, I think,
It's not-
I think a
From a-
licensed
It's not the
driver.
damage they can do, but it's also, we gotta look at what damage can be done to the damage.
Sure,
if they're
sure.
doing it,
Sure.
I'm not a voting member, but my preference would be that you set an age where there's no one in high school that can drive a golf cart to school.
Oh, I didn't even think about school.
It's not an alternative to driving to school.
Why?
Why would that be?
Yeah. Would that be a problem with driving a golf cart to school?
Chief,
I-
you wanna come closer and chime in on this?
I'm just trying to.
I'm with you.
My only
Like, I hear
comment
you
is
say
to
that, but I
be-
don't know why.
As a non-voting member, is the 3 accidents my daughter's had has all been in the parking lot at Wahoo High School,
Oh,
right?
well, fair
And
enough.
so kids don't really pay attention in that parking lot, would be the only
Yeah,
comment I
right.
would make.
Safety.
Yeah.
Safety.
Let's golf
Now,
carts have to
whether
park somewhere
they're
else.
operating quickly enough that it matters if it's a fender bender in a golf cart and a car, or.
They're
I
harder
don't
to
know.
see in those parking lots as
Yeah.
you're backing out too. I mean, I get that.
Is it better to go high and then maybe sometime lower?
The only argument I'd have would be at 16, you can drive a 4,000-pound vehicle. And that
That's-
doesn't make you any smarter than anybody else, but I mean,
No, but a four
I also-
thousand pound
Do you-
vehicle
do
is safer than
And
Yeah, it is.
understanding
Yes, for
that
sure.
also on,
Yeah.
on private property, the school, of course, like anybody else can prohibit it. They could
Yes.
say, look, you can drive to school, you can park on the street, but you can't be on public property with the ATV, UTV, golf cart. If they choose to do that, they can regulate it.
true.
How do other communities handle that item? with going to school.
I think it's the age restriction.
Yeah, the
is
age,
one
there
of
was one that we saw, I think it was Pierce, they were pretty restrictive, and they said they wouldn't they wouldn't allow them to be on school property.
Okay. But the school did that? Or
No,
the-
that was in the city ordinance, yes.
That wouldn't bother me any.
No.
Less so, I mean, that wouldn't bother me any, that would bother me less, I guess, than saying 18 to drive middle. Because I just think, again, I can get a motorcycle license at 16. Boy, there's a whole lot of danger within that compared to this even, right? You know, I like to be as least restrictive and standard.
But if you're gonna turn around and do golf carts, let's say you're setting that at 16, but we also made a comment that we'd like to try to make this as uniform as possible, right?
Right.
So we say that when we get to UTVs and ATVs, we're gonna say 16 is okay too?
Yes, at least I would.
I'm probably more
Again,
inclined to say 16 on a ATV or UTV, because at least you got tubing, better roll bar situation, or at least on a UTV.
On a UTV.
Than a golf cart.
And
Golf
again-
cart's pretty
Yeah.
flimsy.
If I can drive a motorcycle. I can drive a
Absolutely,
four-wheeler.
that's
I guess
the counter.
That's where I was
to
going, like,
anything, yeah.
you know, we feel like we're running around protecting people, but I feel like we just stand in the way an awful lot of what people like to be doing. And we could be, you know, we could always wrap people in bubble and put helmets on everybody to ride in a car, but it's just not feasible. I like to get out of the way as much as
I drive a
possible.
motorcycle 100 miles an hour. Yeah, exactly.
I guess you can get the license at 16, it seems a good starting point.
If it's 8, you know, if everybody else says, hey, this should be 18 or 19, I wouldn't,
Well,
I would still support it, but I question why, how much more development is there between 16 and 18 years old that suddenly people are safer at 18?
but if we use this as a starting point, right, and then we can turn around and evaluate, talking to Joe and talking to them, if we start having issues
Sure.
as a city, you know, with that younger age, then we could always move that at some point in time too, to revise that age limit, correct? So,
Correct.
Well, and some of that can also be, you know, the safety concerns, it can all be restricted by speed. If, you know, if you're going to be at maximum speed, 25 miles an hour, maybe that gives you flexibility in other places.
sure.
So we're moving down into the age restrictions, you're saying 16, but you have to have
You say
That's
class
the
O,
only way you have to have a
well,
license.
I guess the question is, you can get a class O license before 16, right? And so,
I still
says
think it
16.
has to be
It's not a class
16,
O.
but
yeah,
The
that's
school
true,
permit's
that's a
not a class O.
temporary, yeah.
No learner's permit.
A school
Yeah.
permit and a learner's permit are not
That's
class O
true.
licenses.
yeah, I still think it's 16. but
In
then-
fact, if I remember right, even when it's a POP, a provisional operator's permit's not even a class O, which is what you get when you first turn 16. You have to have that for at least 6 months with no tickets before you actually get a class O.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I know
That's a good point.
the ordinance back in 18, with ATV and UTVs we're looking at, we restricted it on class O,
It's a class O.
basically just left it at that.
And is class O considered, or is POP considered a class O, the provisional operator's permit? I know that's the first license you get at 16.
Do we still have some of that from 2018 that we could use kind of as a guide?
Well, I think we would just amend our ordinance,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
I'm looking at the one that ultimately was passed versus the one that started, and you guys picked up most of these, I think, on here, which is, it was the questions we started with that we ultimately landed on were helmets, seatbelts. Originally, there was a restriction of no operating before sunrise or after sunset, not allowed on certain roads, like schools, potentially. Permits, inspections, registrations, having to have stickers in order to operate it, class O license versus age, proof of liability insurance, all of that, which I think most of that's on here.
I think if I remember correctly though, golf carts, there is a limit on the type of street that if the speed limit on a street is over, I can't remember if it's over 30 miles an hour,
You can't
35
go there.
miles an hour, you can't be on it.
Yeah.
So there are quite a few streets in town where, like, on the way in from Heritage Heights, that's 45. There's no ATVs, no UTVs, no golf carts. That if you're going with the most restrictive, that are gonna allow those to come into town. So you say hopping on your UTV to come to town to get a gallon of milk, that's not gonna happen. If you're gonna have golf courts and UTVs, ATVs under the same ordinance, because golf carts by statute are limited to the speed of street that they can be on.
So that was another question I had to begin with. Is that section of road considered within city limits for purposes of this? Is it
Yeah.
considered within?
Yes,
It is
absolutely.
actually,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay, I didn't know that. That's what I was.
And that-
I
stretches
feel like the city
forward.
limits kind of narrowed down, and I'm
Yeah.
always trying to figure out if
Now,
that
can
road
we
is
name
considered.
I mean, so in the provision, can we name the streets that can be operated on? So like say, Old Highway 77 from, the stop sign south would be approved, same thing with the street that goes by, was it J, that goes
J,
by the golf
yeah.
course? That's over the
Yeah,
street.
no,
goes
but
by
those are, we
35.
can't, we
You
can't,
can't
we
be
can
less
make it more
restricted than
strict,
state
yeah.
statute.
Right, we
So I was
can't
gonna
make
say,
it less restrictive.
No matter what we do, that's not a section that's what I was gonna say, there's no way somebody could do that. That's just not
With a
something
golf
we have
cart.
allowed, or the,
Can you cross that?
what about an ATV and
Yeah.
UTV? I thought they had 30, or they had a speed limit as well.
No, they don't have
Okay.
a speed limit.
Well,
Would you need like a crossing place for a golf cart to actually drive across?
You're allowed to cross.
Anyway,
The statute allows you to cross a high-speed.
okay.
Perpendicular
Road, yeah.
to.
I didn't know if it had to be marked or something like a pedestrian
Yeah.
crossway.
We can provide for that, but
Yeah.
it's not prohibited.
So what we're saying, no, right now, and even with, if we did this, a person couldn't literally drive from Heritage Heights to the golf course, because that road, County Road J, would not allow them to drive a golf cart from Heritage Heights to the golf course.
J would, because J's speed limit doesn't exceed it. It would be getting out to the golf cart from in town.
If
That
you
would be
were
the problem.
in
If
town.
you're in
Yeah,
town, if you're
not
going from
close.
Ryan's house, you couldn't go
Yeah.
from Ryan's house out to there, because the only way to get out there would be to
Yeah.
go on the old highway,
or as
basically.
Melissa pointed out, you couldn't come into town like, oh, we're gonna run into the store real quick, we wanna run into the gas station and take the golf cart. You can't come down Old 77, I don't know what we like to call that, but to me it's still Old 77.
Chestnut South.
Chestnut.
That's
What's
the
the
speed
speed
limit
limit?
out to, out, going by Casey's. Shit, now I drive it all the time. I still always,
15th Street,
so I always do it slowly.
35.
Okay, so 35 would match up with J. I could take my golf cart then
To
out to
Casey's.
Casey's.
Now, golf carts can only be operated on streets with a posted speed limit of 35 miles an hour or less.
And we
And
have
they
full
have to
gas.
operate at less than 20 miles an hour, so
Yeah, that,
Okay.
like I said,
Most
that I'm
would,
okay
but
with.
there's
Like,
probably a
most-
few souped up that.
Yeah,
Somebody will
Well,
do
your
it.
four-wheelers and UTVs
But they-
don't
Yes.
run that
That's-
thing.
Oh, yeah,
But I
they,
think,
they can't have the aftermarket stuff on them,
right.
or they won't be permitted.
But you wouldn't, I mean, that'd be a hard one to notice unless they're going 50 miles an hour.
yeah,
I mean, if they're going 24, you may or may not be able to notice that, I mean, unless they're,
But you bring up a good
Well, that would
point.
just be-
Permitted is, would be an annual permit
Yes,
inspected by,
Originally, it'd be the chief of police. It'd be the police department.
Okay.
That's what was intended when we first started in 18. You get it inspected, they give you a sticker, permit, you pay a fee, and then there'd be a renewal period, basically.
the other thing that to consider when you're talking about age is that they can only be operated between sunrise and sunset, so I don't know whether you would have a child that would drive it to school, the sun goes down, they're there for an event, and now
you're stranded.
they're stranded, it stays there.
Don't drive it to school.
well, again,
Yeah, I
there's
agree,
no-
but-
no school parking lots, I agree.
The school thing is neither here nor there for me, I'm just curious why you felt that. Like, the parking lot thing makes sense though, because you're right, there's accidents all the time.
So Joven, the existing, from back when we had seatbelts and helmets?
No, so when it started, we had initially, before we even drafted an ordinance, taken out golf carts.
Oh,
at that
okay.
time. And so
Okay.
all of these drafts only pertain to ATV and UTV. And we started with a requirement for, it came from Bruce primarily, his recommendation, and it started with requiring helmets and things that aren't necessarily required by statute.
Okay.
Seatbelts, helmets, a lot of the things that are on this list, basically. And then we also said can't drive on Chestnut Street, East 12th Street, West First Street, or Highway 77
Gotcha.
were the ones that were on there. and then it got reduced, or more lenient, I think. And we also had a general provision, and this passed to say, in special situations, the parade, that sort of thing, then we'll let you
Yeah.
operate on those roads. Or snow is another example of that.
Okay.
Well, to me, if golf carts can go on a road that's 35, that seems to accomplish at least the golf course kind of goal, right? Because generally, no one's driving in from this
No.
side of town out to the golf course. They're coming from Heritage Heights, or else they have their cart out there
Mhm.
already. Or bring it in, I
Mhm.
suppose. So the fact that County Road J is 35, I still don't love County Road J because it's pretty
Just the
narrow.
road
It's
itself,
narrow.
yeah.
But, last year, when this came up, I did talk to Chad at the golf course, and he said it'd be no problem for them to extend the golf cart path and come. So that way you can kind of come in where a
Oh,
lot of
jag
people
into
do
a right
already.
away.
Already,
Okay.
yeah.
And
there's an
except they
opening.
would actually
Mhm.
pave it and have it be kind of an entrance.
Mhm.
A little safer.
Oh, go into Country Club Acres and come in that way.
Yeah, there's an
Well, you
opening,
can go that way too, yeah.
there's an opening off J in the fence, just west of the lot number 1 of
Five.
Kentucky Acres, right next to
Okay.
hole number 5.
Yeah. Hole 5 and 6, the T-lock was 6, right
Okay.
there.
Are you going that quick, please?
Mhm.
Correct.
Yes.
And so the city presumably just want to make clear, since it's right of way, that is an area that people can get off J Road and go
Mhm.
into it, yeah.
I'd rather allow them to get off and not have them stay on J Road.
Yeah,
That's
right.
sure.
Yeah.
Or you can put
The
a sign
reality
if
of
you
it
want
is
to, but
there-
that's the stopping point.
Yeah.
You can't go any further.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to.
Yeah. I can see a good argument for seatbelts, but helmets, I think, are,
Typically, I mean, from what I've seen,
I
golf
don't
carts
see that.
don't come factory with seatbelts.
No.
So,
okay.
at least I haven't seen that.
Total number of passengers, isn't there a way to word that as the number of passengers designed by the factory or something like that, like an ATV, in order to put a second person on a, if you've only got 4 seats in a golf cart, you can't pack 6
Nobody's
people in
on
there
each
standing
lap,
all
yeah.
over it, right?
Yeah.
So total number of passengers would be total number of seats designed by or from the factory.
That to me seems reasonable.
Or as designed by the factory. I just wouldn't have somebody else be like, well, took this golf cart and I cut the back of it off where it had clubs and I put a lawn chair in there, so that's an extra seat. Like, no, from the factory.
Yeah.
It's got like,
But there are
Lawn chair sitting in the back.
conversion kits you can buy though to add that rear seating on there, so.
sure.
Yeah, and you're sticking up,
But that,
and you're sticking up out of the bed of a UTV by, your seat's up this high, you're,
no, I'm talking about for golf carts. They actually,
golf carts,
yeah,
oh,
they
gotcha.
make a.
I guess if there's a
kit for
conversion kit or something out there, this is still gonna have to be something that gets
Permitted.
permitted.
And
or
inspected,
yeah.
yeah.
Inspected.
Yeah, it can be part of the permit, space.
That when chief issues a permit or somebody, it says,
Yeah, this
Three.
is how many people,
This is
right,
the
this is,
number.
Yeah.
looks like you can seat 3 people in here and that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, a cooler is not a seat.
yeah.
Like, I wanna do it, but let's not get crazy. Speed limit sounds like 20. Right?
Yeah.
Age restrictions we already discussed. Correct?
Yeah, start it.
16 with an
16.
operator's license.
can you be, street restrictions again is nothing, you're going with the least or the most 35 miles an hour, right? You can't operate it on a street with a posted speed limit greater than 35.
So does that mean that an ATV, UTV, which also would be able to, can't go from like Heritage Heights into town? Because it would have to cross at 45, but ordinarily would be.
I thought we were just talking golf carts right now.
Yeah, and I wasn't sure, when you're
Yeah, that's
talking
what I-
application of which to which, right?
sorry.
Yeah. That I'm hearing is one of the exception of, everything's gonna be common, but maybe on that one, it's not gonna be the same.
I would think that would make more
That
sense.
sounds So
Right.
far, that sounds right.
Okay.
Mm.
I mean, at least that's where I'm at with it.
I do get a little nervous with golf carts coming in on old 77.
Yeah,
Well, and they couldn't
No,
do
I
it
agree.
anyway. The only way to do that is if we change the speed limit, because the state's not gonna allow it. But a UTV
Oh,
or a
that's true.
four-wheeler,
That's a state-
they can actually
that's a
keep up
state
with the
statute.
speed.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That speed
For sure.
is, yeah, 40.
Yep.
But they can't operate that speed.
No.
No.
No, it's just the restriction on
What's
the
their speed
street
limit?
Must operate at less than 30 miles an hour.
for golf carts.
You
No,
No.
ATV.
Golf carts.
Golf carts are 20,
Okay.
ATVs and UTVs are 30.
But are we saying for, and this is probably a question for Chief, do you want a common speed limit for all of them? Do you want like 20 for all of them? It says, doesn't matter if it's an UTV, it can't go over 20 miles an hour.
You asking me?
Yeah.
Well, the way I look at it is, honestly, guys, we'll enforce the laws that you guys, put out there for us to enforce the city ordinances and such. As far as like an opinion, you know, I realize bicycles are out there on the highways, cars are out there on the highway, motorcycles, so I'm not gonna offer up an opinion on what it should be. I'll defer to you guys and I'll enforce what you guys, want on this. Does that make
We're
sense?
trying not to make an enforcement mess for
Nightmare for
you.
you.
No, yeah, I mean, it won't be, we'll, like I said, we'll figure it out and we'll work with what you guys give us.
I mean,
And what
reality,
was the question?
Nobody's gonna
Right
be
now-
traveling 5 miles, so speed shouldn't have to be the max to me.
no, the question was,
20
like, say,
mile an hour,
if there was
it's
a,
uniform is about.
yes, a speed restriction on golf carts at 20 mile an hour, and then on UTVs and ATVs moving at 30 miles an hour, would that be cumbersome for you guys to?
I don't think it'll be that much of a problem, either way, yeah.
Thank you.
So now, the only thing I keep thinking of is as we talk about, you know, Chestnut, you gotta be able to get into town. It's too much. I just wonder, you know, how frustrated people are gonna be riding behind a golf cart that's driving from Chestnut all the way through town doing 20 miles an hour while they're sitting behind.
Well, and legally, they're supposed to be within the roadway too.
Right, right,
If they're
they've gotta be
operating,
out,
they're
they've
not
gotta be
supposed to
there,
on
right,
the
they've gotta be
shoulder.
right out in the middle of the road, they're another vehicle in traffic, and that means everybody behind them is gonna stay behind them, and then across town, which, I don't know, hopefully drivers would want to get off of that street and not drive all the way down Chestnut like that, but unless we put a restriction in it of some kind.
Some of our
say-
senior citizens don't drive that fast.
And I get frustrated every time.
20 mile an hour for a cart is a speed control device.
Yeah, I have to be more patient as I go home, I guess, that's all. I don't know, are there any street restrictions, anybody think anything differently, if there's someplace we shouldn't have them? Would this be
I
the
mean,
time to
I
speak
think
up and
that
just say keep them off of school
Chestnut
property?
being a main thoroughfare, I mean, I wouldn't completely break my heart to turn around and say,
Stay off
avoid
Chestnut.
Chestnut.
But again, as we say that, we're sitting here trying to make things possible for them to drive down Chestnut, or drive down West Chestnut, just to get into town. So that
Do
would
they
be
have to
from-
turn at First Street would be the question.
Right.
Do they have to get off of Chestnut from First and can't get back on it till when? I guess I don't know.
Well,
Can
if
you go
tonight is to
Chestnut north?
just lay out the basics, are we getting in the weeds too far for tonight?
Yeah, it's up to you.
Mhm.
I think the street restrictions things I'd have to think about, because I hate to do that too. I hate to say this one street in town, the main thoroughfare through town you have to avoid. That just seems nice for regular traffic, but also kind of strange. I don't know.
Mhm. And how often is this truly gonna happen? I guess that's the other thing. We don't know
Sure.
that.
No idea, no idea. From the interest that I've heard in doing this,
Yeah,
more often,
I think it's more,
especially in the
but
summer.
here's the thing,
But,
I guess,
but UTV isn't gonna be disruptive.
no. I
'Cause they're
think
gonna go
it's gonna be
30.
more
And you're
UTVs.
basically going
Which
the
is the
speed
speed
limit.
That will make a
UTVs and
difference, yeah.
ATVs are gonna be probably the more common than you're gonna see with golf carts.
And I think 95% of your golf carts are gonna be going up.
Out
to
of
the
town,
course.
south end.
And probably not driving
I was
around.
gonna say, I think we're gonna see a lot of golf
Just
carts
that.
that aren't golf carts. They're not built for golfing, they're just the ones that you see driving around the lake all the time, and they're built with 2 seats in the back, and they are driving around town just like they're out there now.
like Arizona, you'd say, right?
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
more
I think
transportation.
you go down to Woodcliff, and Woodcliff, when I was a kid, was all four-wheelers. Well,
Yeah.
the four-wheelers are gone, and it's all golf carts now. They all
Yeah.
drive around in a golf cart, that's about it. And
It's
it's
a different community.
four people in the, you know, it's a four-seater with two people can sit in the back, so you can technically sit six in it. It's factory made like that. It'll do 25 miles an hour. It's got headlights and taillights. It's never seen a golf cars,
Yeah.
but they're still built as a golf cart.
See, that's
It's a
like,
different
I
community.
don't, I really don't see it.
I don't see
I don't
it
think
either.
downtown you're gonna see.
Maybe in
Much
the
of it.
neighborhoods and such,
Sure.
but I don't know as you're gonna see people going from a neighborhood, driving down Chestnut to go to Sunmark, getting groceries and coming home. I
Well, again, do we just leave the restriction off, and if it becomes a problem, and we have complaints, that's
I
something
think
we
so.
can
I
always
think
add
we
in
tied
down
the
the
speed
road.
limit and
Yep.
Fair enough.
make it more restrictive if need be.
So,
One thing that is not on here is the requirement for lights and a safety flag. ATVs and UTVs by statute, that is a requirement, but there's nothing for golf carts, and I think that's necessary.
I would like,
It should be the same.
I would like
I
to
would
see
like to explore brake lights.
brake lights.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, it's
And even
daytime only,
headlights,
right? So I don't know
noticeable.
that headlights are necessary, but
Right.
brake lights.
And it's easy enough to run that to a battery and have,
Yeah.
A lot of your carts anymore, especially the ones that people are buying now, they're coming equipped with headlights and
Yes,
taillights.
they've
and
got it.
everything, so.
The flag, I don't
Right.
think matters.
The flag I find
That's,
hilarious.
I
Did anybody
agree.
ever thought that that's what's gonna save a person, is that?
So we're
bouncing
saying,
flag, but-
taillights, brake lights, but not so much blinkers.
And that would,
right.
turns out, and again, I think that comes down to inspection. I think people need to understand the, right turn, left turn, stop, hand signals.
Does
And,
statute have provision then for turn signals?
No,
No.
but it does say that you have to follow the rules of the road. So if you're going to make a turn, you either do
You're
a
supposed
manual
to
turn
signal
signal
Right
or
hand,
use your,
left turn,
Right.
and stop.
Gotcha.
And I think as people pick up
and,
their
sorry.
permits, go ahead. I was just gonna say, as people pick up their permits, we make sure that those are, maybe there's a pamphlet that gets handed out with that says,
And not-
hey, these are your signals.
ATVs and UTVs, you don't have a choice on the safety flag,
Yeah, I know.
has to be,
It
I find
has
it
to be.
hilarious, but it has to be there.
but not a golf cart.
but not on golf.
Okay.
Insurance,
Well,
Yes.
will the insurance companies control that, give us advice on that, what they,
Well, again, the statute doesn't say anything about ATVs and UTVs. It's on golf courts, it says there must be liability insurance and it establishes the limits. I guess ATVs and UTVs says you have to have liability insurance, but it doesn't say what those limits are.
look where it says limits.
Yeah.
Well, Is there a state minimum on liability insurance?
There is with respect to
25,
motor
50, isn't it?
vehicles, yeah. But I think my thought process there would be if you're gonna require golf carts, which you're required to, then everybody should.
Yeah,
Right.
I think if you're gonna be on the
Yeah.
road,
It's
it
just
should
to
be,
what
follow
degree.
the same insurance.
Because the risk is somebody rams into you, they don't have insurance.
Right.
You're chasing
Sure.
after them, you only have liability, so you're not covered,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, if you're gonna be legally operating on a street where, with other vehicles, you should have insurance.
Yeah.
Are
Whatever
you
the
fine
state
with
minimums
the
are.
statute on golf carts says a 25,
25 and 50.
50 because
Yeah,
of
that's-
bodily injury or
yeah,
death?
That's state
State
minimum,
minimum.
state minimum for auto, so I would
Yeah.
say it would be the same for liability for ATVs and UTVs.
I would agree.
Here's one we had, I didn't notice the sentence, inspection shall also necessarily include a decibel reading to ensure the vehicle doesn't constitute a nuisance. That was in our original draft.
Yeah, we don't have a decibel, anything to read.
You need to read it, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Dang, that's loud.
Yeah, that's your reading.
I think it comes down to chief, like, no,
I think it'd be more
put a
about,
muffler on that thing.
it'd be more about the radios and the speakers. being
Yeah.
Right.
Boombox.
For sure.
What is your fee that you own?
What do other communities do? I mean, that's kind of the guidance I'm
I
looking
think
for.
They ranged from nothing to $100. That was the most that, I feel like that there should be something,
Well,
Yeah,
because
I don't
there is.
disagree.
Disagree, because we have to have,
Yeah.
the
Added oversight.
police
Split the
department's
middle,
gonna have to do
50
it,
bucks.
so-
Do you think, is $25 out of the
See, I
question?
was
That's-
thinking 25. I was thinking, I'm not trying to make money on it, I'm just trying to pay for the
Yeah.
paperwork and the permit.
Registration and on a car, total cost there is what, 65 bucks?
No, I don't know.
I don't remember.
Yeah, but you're also talking about, a part-time use vehicles and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm just playing devil's
Right, and
advocate.
yeah,
Yeah.
a car goes all over the state, and
Yeah.
there's a lot that goes
Yeah,
into
something
that.
running from
To me, the
yeah,
permitting in
April
this
to
is simply to cover our
October.
costs,
Yeah.
right? I don't like to make money on things
Yeah, I
as
think
a
it should
city.
start at least
I
at
wanna
50.
cover our costs that
50?
pays
Start
for
at
people
least
to do
there.
it.
The draft you had originally in 18 was $100 annual fee and 25 for duplicate sticker if it's lost. Not so you have to do that. That's what you were operating with back in 18.
How do you lose
Not a
the
bad
matter?
thought.
I would go with that, actually, that was what was talked about in 18, that's a good starting point.
I definitely, I personally like to see it less, but
I
I
would
think if
too.
we stuck at that 50 mark, I'd be okay.
Because it's a.
I'd rather see
part-time.
25, but
Okay, so-
I'm kind of inclined, but I could go to 50. And
Yeah.
I don't,
can we compromise at 50, because I really want to see 25.
I think all the same people would pay 100.
I wouldn't say they wouldn't
No.
pay it, but that's not,
But that's
again,
not-
my thing is, I
It's
don't like
not-
to see the city
I-
trying to make money on something, I just wanna cover our costs.
Well,
What's it cost
definitely
us
is-
to have it inspected, print a sticker, make sure all the information is out there and enforcement?
Yeah, for sure.
For somebody wanting to do this, it's quite a commitment. I mean, not just in making sure you have the correct vehicle, but also with the insurance and with the permitting process. It's a commitment, and I don't think you're gonna be flooded with too many vehicles, actually.
Yeah.
We're gonna have a little more enforcement.
Right.
Whether we have to hire
sure.
somebody, I don't know, but, so there's a little bit of employee cost there. Penalties.
Did we talk about this?
We do have, in the existing ordinance that we do have penalties listed in that, but it needs to be cleaned up, yeah.
Okay.
So what are the existing penalties?
Seemed pretty aggressive.
Well, we have a general penalties, but would fly under, I'm looking at the prohibition section. You're talking about the ATV, UTV ordinance that exists?
Yeah,
I remember when she was reading it last time, because I was trying to figure out how we have penalties for permitting when we don't have a permitting process.
Chapter 39, revised statute. For the first offense, operators shall be prohibited from operating ATVs and UTVs for a period of 1 year
For first events?
for a first offense. Second year,
second year.
within 10 years of the first offense is what it qualifies, that it's a 5-year prohibition.
And what exactly is
A
an
little
offense?
excessive.
And then
Is
what
the
happens
offense-
if they're
is the
doing it while they're
offense, Driving
prohibited?
without a permit, or is it offense speeding, or is it offense?
Speeding, turn
Charged
signal.
with the class 2 misdemeanor, which carries a possible maximum penalty of $1,000 fine and or 6 months in jail or both.
But those are
That's statute,
statute,
actually,
yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
Oh.
And I think offense would be anything, if you're operating without a permit, if you're speeding, if you have alcohol in it, if you're, didn't use your turn signal, you ran a stop sign,
It's like a motor vehicle.
yeah.
Yeah.
You can still get a ticket for it as well, right? If I run a stop sign on that, I'm still gonna get a traffic ticket.
Yeah, and that's that's that citation issue. The only thing you did above and beyond that is by saying a first violation results in a temporary revocation, a second, a long.
No, my concern was, okay, if you're revoked and then you continue to drive, well,
Yeah.
then that's the penalty.
Then
Even if
it's
you didn't do something
continue to
wrong,
just get class 2 misdemeanors every time they catch you,
you get
basically.
ticketed for
Yeah,
driving without
every time it
permit.
happens, yeah, and it's not an escalating clause. where
Maybe
it
we can
says
start
if you
the
do it 3 times like a DUI,
conversation.
then something worse
Yeah.
happens.
I think one of the things you wanna consider too, if you start talking about class 2 misdemeanor and stuff, that means we'd be hiring the city attorney, and the cost of, actual prosecuting a class 2 misdemeanor that goes to court resulting in a small fine, you gotta ask yourselves, is that gonna be, be worth it to prosecute the person at that point? So,
Yep.
something to think about on that. If you put like a fine, maybe there'd be, they pay the fine, maybe not. So that's the only thing I comment about going with that city ordinance violation, without a fine being there for a city ordinance type of violation. Like you have a parking ticket, it's $5 fine. you have a dog violation, you gotta send it to you gotta hire the city attorney to prosecute him and stuff, unless there's a fine in place.
But like your parking ticket, you get so many until it escalates. If you don't pay after, you get like 10.
After a certain
and-
amount of time,
yeah.
then it goes
Then
up
it
to
escalates,
stuff.
so maybe that's something to consider.
Something to consider.
Yeah, and first offense under current reg is a class 3 misdemeanor, penalty up to $500. Second offense is the class 2 misdemeanor, penalty up to $1,000. And then there is nothing for third, fourth, fifth, sixth offense, it's the same.
Would you agree with me though, if you don't use your turn signal and a citation was issued by the police department for a turn signal, that's going to be the same as if you were in a motor vehicle?
That would be a state statute.
Right,
That'd
that would be
we
state
file that under the state statute and go through the county attorney's office. Enforcing city ordinance is different when it goes through the
Sure.
city attorney. That's the
So
difference.
really, we're talking about the violations, do we need to differentiate between a violation on your UTV that you don't have your flag? That's technically a violation
Don't have
of
a
the
flag,
ordinance.
don't
That's
have
a
a license,
violation of the
don't
permit.
have curb
Right.
plates on it,
Results
things
in
like
a
that.
revocation
No choice.
of the permit.
Right, so do we
Right.
need to have something that says if you violate our ordinance, this is what's gonna happen if you violate the rules of the road?
Yeah, traffic
That's-
laws are
Traffic
different.
laws,
Yes.
right?
You still have to obey all
Is that
traffic
going to
laws.
still result in a revocation?
See, I don't see that, right? At least no.
Like if you had to pay the fine, there is no revocation, is what you're thinking.
Yeah, I mean, if I blow a stop sign, gosh, it's scary enough blowing a stop sign in a car, blowing a stop sign on one of these things would be super scary, so I do understand the idea, we wanna be more restrictive on it, but at least for the driver, not necessarily for the other people on the road.
And I guess the long story would be if you've got blowing the stop sign 10 different times, the next year you come in for a permit, maybe you don't get one.
You blow a stop sign 10 times, you're gonna lose your driver's license to begin with.
Exactly.
You don't have a driver's license.
But I say
you don't
there
have a
there is a finality to it. I mean,
Right.
there's still an annual permit process.
Do you think if someone gets a DUI while driving their UTV, that they should be able to recover from that and drive the UTV again?
That would seem like a
Well,
poor
don't you
choice.
have to have your operator's license to?
Yeah, once you've got your license back, to me, the difference between the UTV or whatever in a car.
I think it
Same
should be,
Same thing.
I think it should
Same
be
thing.
considered a
Car back,
backup
get your car
vehicle.
back.
Yeah.
What'd you
Yeah,
say?
I think it should be considered your backup vehicle if you are
Yeah.
suspected
You
of
still have to
driving.
have an operator's license.
Yeah, that's-
to-
yeah.
Gotta have an operator's
So I
license.
guess what I'm hearing is, just to simplify it, is if it's a operator's violation, it's the misdemeanor and the criminal statute, right?
Right.
Which has to be that way, right? If it's a violation because you didn't have properly working brake lights, which are our ordinance violation, right? Then that's different, we get into the temporary suspension issue.
And how long was the first suspension?
What we have now is 1 year.
Is that a little excessive? I mean, if you have a tail light out on your vehicle and it's not working, so typically you
Yeah.
could lose your,
You could, if
For
if
you.
they didn't give you a fix-it ticket, so to speak,
Yeah.
right?
Well, and
Yeah.
to me, it makes almost more sense, again, that I feel like that's harder on PD than just to say it's a fine, right? It's a $100 ticket, I don't think $100, but $50 or $100 ticket for driving a vehicle that doesn't meet its permitting requirements or whatever,
well,
right?
I mean, I'd have no problem with the first offense being $100 ticket. And then the second one, go up from there if there's multiple in that same time frame. I mean,
I feel like the
Because
year
are you
revocation
revoking-
is a little aggressive.
Pretty harsh.
I think so. I mean, that's just my opinion.
Years, I don't know, there's some of those things are simple, that like the flag, like, oh, shoot, I forgot that I have to put a flag on my four-wheeler before I go drive it around.
Yeah.
You know, now I can't get one for a year. I just feel like that's a lot. Maybe I'm wrong, I mean, I guess that keeps people on the straight and narrow, but I feel like the first couple times somebody gets that, we're gonna be hearing about it all day, that, man, I lost my license for, I'm not allowed to, I bought a four-wheeler, I spent all this money on it, I'm not allowed to drive it now for a year because the flag fell off, and I
Would
didn't
you be more
realize it.
comfortable with doing something like 3 strikes and you're
I would rather see a
permitted-
fine, and then suspended.
Yeah.
And it's
On the
not a
third?
1-year
Yeah.
revocation, it's maybe a 2-year revocation.
I would definitely be more comfortable with
And
that.
then
Like,
maybe
you get
there's a little-
fined,
yeah.
you didn't solve the problem, or you have a different problem, you get fined again 3 strikes, now you're not gonna be able to get one for 2 years. That would make a lot more sense to me.
3 strikes within what time frame?
That's what I was gonna
Because
say.
it'll be a rolling time.
Well, it's a
frame.
permitting process, we've kind of established annually.
And
Yeah.
within the permit time for a period.
That's
I would
easier
say
to
each
track
year. I
that.
don't wanna,
Yeah.
Yeah,
you know, if somebody has a problem. with it,
so it does erase
Yeah,
if it's 2 and.
I would rather see that drag out a little farther though, again, if it's somebody who's a repeat offender because they refuse to register it. Now I got $100 fine, and I'm still not registering it, I get another, but, well, next year maybe. I'll
That'll be
get
the
another one,
biggest,
you know what I mean?
I think
That's what
that'll
it's
be the
gonna
biggest issue, it'll be people who didn't do what they're supposed to do
Right.
from, at the initial stage.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, from there, can we have the escalate, like say if they get a ticket for not registering it, the first ticket's $100, I'm just throwing numbers out there. If you get a second ticket within that same year's time frame, you know, now it's
It's more,
$250.
yeah.
You do it a third time, now it's $500, you know.
To me, it just makes sense to do, like I said, the 100, 200, and then, you know, you can't license one, or you can't register one now for 2 years. But I think that instead of saying you have to get 2 tickets in a year, it would be over a rolling 10-year period from your initial start or something like that, right? Because I think that's what they had written.
that all has to be tracked then.
Adds a little administration, but
Hopefully there aren't that many of these tickets going
Right.
out.
Yeah, but still had to be tracked though.
Fair enough.
Would that be tracked by the permit number though, for the vehicle? But if they don't have a permit, then how do you do it?
A non-permitted violator.
Yeah,
We'll go by the name of.
that has a driver's
Yeah.
license, yeah.
well, we can propose something, maybe,
Figure
for
something out.
discussion purposes.
Well, we'd hope that this is not their only means of transportation.
Well, I hope
What is
so.
it right now?
Right.
But,
I
I
agree.
mean, they
It
could
isn't now,
lose this
but it could be.
Could
privilege,
be.
to me.
It could be.
It's a privilege to have ATV.
It very well could be.
I joked about it a long time ago, that I was just gonna buy Kylie a golf cart, because I didn't wanna pay for a whole car.
I tell Kai I'm gonna get a moped in college right now, because I don't wanna pay for the gas or parking.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay,
Make some cool looking.
have we got enough
Yeah.
with Joven,
Yep.
Melissa, and Christina to work on something, and we'll go from there. So we've talked about it now, number 3, the motion to authorize staff to draft an ordinance.
So moved.
second,
Questions? Roll call.
Warford,
Yes.
Ideas.
Yes.
Raffle,
Yes.
Sweet,
Yes.
Creachy.
Yes,
Okay, number 4, approval for a special designated liquor license for Karen Spirits for March 31st, 23.
This is because the church can only do it for a set number of weeks, and they need the extra.
We did
Need a
that.
motion to approve.
second,
Who's second? Thank you.
Questions? Roll call.
Warford,
Yes.
Creachy.
yes,
Sweet,
Yes.
Ideas.
Yes.
Raffle.
Yes.
Number 5, approval of ordinance number 2417, renewal of a conditional use permit for titles. This is an ordinance,
For the beer garden. For the beer garden only.
beer garden only. Okay.
Any problems with the beer garden out there, chief? How long, I feel like we do this every year. Have we been doing this for just 12 months?
Yes, titles is just 12 months.
Anybody see any problem with pushing
It can
this
be.
out a couple of years and giving 2 years on it before we have to talk about it again?
I would.
fine with that.
Maybe this initial period was 12 months because it was.
Because it was,
Mhm.
it was
Maybe.
new to him, that's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I'm comfortable with that.
I am very comfortable with that.
I would make the motion to do that and push it out 2
I'll
years.
second it.
You're introducing
It
that?
is.
Oh,
Ordinance.
that's ordinance. Motion introduced.
And it's 2
At-
years?
Yeah, at 24 months for back page, part C.
Okay. A motion to waive,
So moved.
Second,
roll call on the motion to waive 3 readings.
Warford,
Yes.
Ideas.
yes,
Raffle.
Yes.
Sweet,
Yes.
Creachy.
Yes,
Okay, final reading, roll call.
Warford,
Yes.
Sweet,
Yes.
Creachy.
yes,
Ideas.
yes,
Raffle.
Yes.
Number 6, approval of ordinance, number 2418, renewal of a conditional use permit for Reason Dance Studio,
This one's 5 years.
that's 5.
so was it just, it was 5 from before?
I was gonna say, we've never seen this one since I got here, so.
Yeah, it's been
Yeah.
5
Doing
years.
good 5 years.
I remember seeing it,
Yeah.
and the big question, I think, was just traffic flow, and that
And
seems to be,
Travis doesn't
And
have
they,
any concerns.
and
yeah,
we see headlights 4 times a night. when the different ones come into, and it doesn't bother.
I
mean,
promise
they've done
you,
a lot better.
It used to be a lot worse when you had to go in and out of one driveway, but now that
Yeah,
you can
now-
drive in, pick up, and flow out the back, it
It's
flows a lot
got a
smoother.
better flow, so from a neighbor, we don't have any problem with it.
I apologize now, because I know some of those are mine picking up my dog.
Oh, I've driven through that driveway so many
It's not
times.
you and Dan?
All these people gonna start honking at
It's
each
me
other.
when there's one kid standing out there because their dad forgot.
Okay, is there a motion to introduce the ordinance?
So moved. Motion
Second.
introduced.
Second.
Okay, motion, to waive,
Yes.
Second.
okay, roll call on motion to waive,
Krejci,
Yes.
Warford,
Yes.
Rappel,
Yes.
Ideas.
Yes.
Sweet.
Yes.
final reading, roll call.
Krejci.
Yes.
Warford,
Yes.
Sweet,
Yes.
Ideas.
Yes.
Rappel.
Yes.
Okay, number 7, and there's several of them, these are by statute, based on what the legislature did last year, but we have to do them individually.
We begged and pleaded with Maureen, and she said, no, they have to be adopted individually.
What's your opinion?
Yeah, I'm glad she said it, because I'm lazy, and I would have said approve it as a slate. Yeah. Who's gonna object? Yeah.
That's an internal issue.
So, just to review these, so that you can get on a roll. The first, let's see, 19, 24-20, 24-21, 24-22, all have to do with statutory changes, on 24-23 regarding budget and property tax levy, requiring limiting to the growth. We already went through this in September when we did our budget, requiring us to participate in the joint public hearing. So, those changes went into effect, but this is the change to our municipal code. 24-24, just if you would take a minute to read through that, it does, require now that evidence and documentation received or disclosed in open session shall be public records and open to public inspection during normal business hours. That's kind of always been the assumption, but the statute was changed to very clearly state that. So anything that is submitted at the council meeting will now become, we need to make sure Christina has a copy of it so it can be added to our public record. It gives permission for us to keep minutes electronically. And it does give the provision where if the clerk is ill or has an emergency absence, we don't have to have them prepared within 10 working days. Ordinance 24, 25, 26, and 27, I think that's the last one, all have to do with some changes to elections, which we don't hardly ever work with. And if we would pull these sections and review them, if we ever got a recall or we're gonna have a special election, or if there was someone who objected to us conveying real property. So. Any questions?
For purposes of ease, I guess, maybe it was a middle ground. Do we want one person to make the motion, the other to make the second, the same person to make the motion to waive the 3 readings?
Are these, are these
As to
ordinances?
each one of them, and it'll list them all.
They're all ordinances?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
We just work our way around the table, maybe.
I think so.
Can you, Joey, can you do the introduction of the ordinance including in the motion that you want to approve it with the waiver of 3 readings? Can you do it?
You could smush it, and I was thinking even easier than that, which is say, if you two wanna do the first and the second on both the introduction and the waiver of 3, and an agreement is you'll be the first and the second on all of them, then all we need to do is do a vote once, and you'll record it as approved on every one of them. That'll make
Do it.
life easier.
Yeah.
Done.
moved.
Yeah.
It'll be the same motion, same second for every one of them,
Yeah.
right?
Okay,
So
I like
Krejci
this.
for the motion and Warford for the second?
And the same with the
Okay.
waivers.
Works. Yep, I second that.
Yeah.
Yep.
I assume.
We cleared the room, too.
One more.
Yeah, we cleared
And the microphone.
One way to do it.
Yeah.
2 people.
so the waive is in the same one?
Yeah, basically now, and then I'd say take one roll call on both, and then you'll record it as for every one of those ordinances.
Okay.
Okay, and then we'll have to vote again on the final.
Yes,
Or that would still
as,
be-
you vote on the,
Collect.
So we're just gonna vote twice, once on the
Yes.
waiver and once on the
Yes.
approval of all of the
and she'll
ordinances.
report, and it's understood that you're voting on each of these
Each individual and
independently, so
separately.
to speak,
Yes.
Yeah.
but
In the same.
in
But
the
with
same.
one voice.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
Like,
we have a motion and a second for
we-
2419.
For all of them,
For
Jerry.
number
So I
seven,
did all of them.
We're
we're
doing
gonna,
all.
we're gonna waive the readings on all of seven,
Yes.
Yeah,
okay?
and waive the readings.
Yeah.
Creachy,
Yes.
Warford.
Yes.
Sweet,
Yes.
Ideas.
Yes.
Rappel.
Yes.
Final reading then?
Yep.
Okay. Roll call.
Creachy.
Yes.
Warford.
Yes.
Sweet,
Yes.
Ideas.
Yes.
Rappel.
Yes.
2420.
Well, I think she's gonna record it as that way for everyone.
We just did all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Roll call on the motion.
I think she's good.
We're done.
We're
She's
done.
doing them all.
Yeah,
She's doing them all.
We got
She's doing them all.
Yeah.
So all we
They're all
have
just
to
gonna
do.
mirror.
We got it
Okay. All done?
All done. We're all
We did them
All
all.
done.
Yeah.
You didn't hear all that?
Well, it was rolling by fast, and I thought, okay. I'm
Jovan said
sorry.
if everybody nods their head at the same time,
Yeah.
you can skip this part.
Yeah,
But for purposes of the minutes, it's gonna reflect independent.
Minutes will be
approvals for
longer than the meeting.
all understand.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't have any comments. Went to the league meeting yesterday. Melissa was there both days. To me, yesterday at least was one of the better days that I've seen one for a while. Some good discussions. There's a lot of bills. What happened today on the floor, there's a threat by one of the senators that she wants to filibuster every bill from here on out. That was the attitude. And she was called a bully by another senator, so it didn't get any better today. So how many will pass, I don't know.
Why do I have a feeling this is gonna be the new norm moving forward?
That's unfortunate.
Otherwise, council, any comments?
Update on, maybe not tonight, but maybe by next meeting, our campus, Kennedy campus, project, maybe where we're at on the downtown project with Mr. Sullivan.
Yeah, and Kennedy campus, just to give you a quick update, my understanding is the issue that was supposed to come in front of you is the parking permit approval. And he did engage an engineer, did design it, but then when the engineer looked at it, they basically said, we need to make some tweaks.
Okay.
So Travis said it's back in the engineers for tweaks. Our thought
This
process,
for the downtown project?
this one's Kennedy,
Or Kennedy,
yeah.
okay.
The campus
The
itself.
campus itself, yeah. And so that, as I understand it, with the campus project, that one should be coming to you in the not-so-distant future on the parking permit approval, particularly because it's not exactly vanilla in terms of the surface that they're proposing to use and how that's gonna address the drainage and that sort of thing. So I had suggested that, do we do it a little backwards where that comes in front of you first instead of
Okay.
the issuing the permit for the construction side of things. Now on Sullivan's Kennedy project and the other one, I don't know about those.
I have had conversations with an attorney representing Mike Sullivan, working on his TIF application and intending to move forward with that. So,
Okay. I just didn't know if the design is still being worked on. It's been a while since I've actually saw the design of the project and, you know,
I think that is something that will, I've reiterated to Mike that this, the redevelopment agreement process has to come first, and there will be some scrutiny during that process to ensure that there's a project that is viable and that will be completed, and there.
So we have to take action on TIF before we can see final.
I think there will be several things that will be, like, all
Okay.
together, they'll be coming to you.
Okay. Interesting. Timeframes? A month or two?
No, I don't know.
No idea. Okay.
I mean, you can kind of see a little bit that, you know, conceptually, he would have the project and an idea of how much it would cost him, along with, you know, the utility work and such that need to be done. But truthfully, we're not supposed to consider a redevelopment contract. If not for TIF, this project will fail. You're supposed to hear that. Well, if you're not going to move forward with it, I really think TIF will be an essential part of this project. So there's a little bit of a chicken and egg kind of thing. If
Okay.
you're not gonna approve the redevelopment contract at a level that will make his project work, then he may not be interested any longer. Do you follow what I'm saying?
Yes, I do. But I mean,
Well,
with
then
that,
he might want, so he might be a little hesitant to make significant investments, like into his final design, without
I
having some
understand.
assurance that the TIF is gonna move forward, so.
Okay, I understand.
One item, with our new logo, question, do you want to have a name badge with the new brand logo? If you do, you want just Wahoo City Council, or do you want your name, Wahoo City Council? They're ready to start doing them, they're doing.
To be
they're
like
able-
wear here or something? Or
Huh?
where would I want to wear a name badge?
I don't know, I'm just asking.
Okay, I could pass on that.
like to wear mine all over the place.
Where is all this? Is the Supreme Leader on it? Yeah.
Can I get that one? Yeah, can I get that one? Who do I talk to?
But I know that you,
City
like,
issued it to me.
at the conference, you did,
Yeah, I'm,
Oh, I could see that. Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
I mean, so I'll probably try and get one.
If there's a situation that you want us to be represented by a name tag, if there's then I'm happy to do it, if that's.
Yeah,
I
I
don't know,
want to say,
I'll find out what it's gonna cost
Okay.
and it doesn't have to be done today, but, it
But
might
sitting
be
here,
that we'll.
we're good.
I would say if it was one that just says city council or my name, if there's a purpose that for me wearing it, I would want one that has my name, because it would probably be at a conference at some
Yeah,
time.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I agree.
okay, I'll talk to, chamber office and we'll get some more detail and they'll maybe contact you,
Okay.
see what you want, okay.
Supreme Leader.
Just go on like the city issued it to me.
Get one
Julie.
from Melissa that just says the boss on it, right?
my mistake, don't call me.
With your phone number underneath that.
Sorry, I don't have 5
555.
No, I don't have
or just a sec.
Yeah, this will just take a minute.
Yeah.